For most entertainers, there is a single experience. One defining moment. When confidence replaces the self-doubt that most of us wrestle with. This here is Charlie Pride, and this is the defining moment of Romain Grosjean. Now, to fully understand Romain Grosjean and his defining moment, we need to have a look back at his career and identify significant areas in which that led up to the moment of the 29th of November 2020. So let me introduce the Romain Grosjean family tree.
Oh, jeez.
Romain Grosjean's parents, Christian and Marie, are descendants of somewhat significance. Christian's father actually was a professional skier and actually went on to be an Olympian. He competed twice, once in 1948 and then again in 1952. Romain's mother, Marie, her grandfather actually was Edgar Brandt, who's famous for designing this French mortar. And this all led up to 1986, where in Geneva, Switzerland, Romain Grosjean was born. So for Romain Grosjean growing up, there was already a lot of talent and success within the family, both from his mother's side and from his father's side. Racing for Grosjean actually started from a very early age, when his father asked him to, have a go, and Romain actually turned out that he loved go-karting. Christian actually saw the potential here, and he entered into a new season in 2000 to go racing. However, the season was cut short, as Romain had suffered his first injury and accident, affecting his right collarbone and having a minor fracture. This normally would deter other people, but Romain persevered and carried on driving. Christian Grosjean actually looked into driving development programs around the world, as he sort of saw a future for Romain in Formula 1. And one of those programs was Red Bull. And the head of the program at the time was this guy called Dr. Helmut Marko. And he rejected Romain. But then another driving development program, Renault, were like, hey Romain, you can have a contract with us and it will be for 10 years. And Romain signed that contract. Romain then went on to race in Formula 3. And with that big success, Romain went on to go into GP2 the next year. And GP2 at the time had this very strange thing where it was split into two stints. The first stint would be in Asia, and then the second stint would be in Europe. And during his time in GP2, he got a very important phone call, and it was Renault F1, and they wanted to know if that Romain wanted to race instead of Nelson Piquet. So for the rest of the season, Grosjean actually replaced him, and that is how Romain got into Formula 1. Kind of. After having his debut in 2009, he was completely ejected from the team, which left Grosjean without a team and without a future in motorsport.
It has been a very tough times at the end of 2009 when I couldn't get a seat for the next year in Formula 1, and I had no seat in any categories.
Now being unemployed, had zero offers from any teams at all. Grosjean actually searched for a new career, but not in motorsport. He went searching for a career in cooking. And he went to one of the finest cooking schools in Paris, hoping to sign up, but the cooking school actually rejected him on the basis that he was too old. So he went back to Switzerland to sort of recoup his resources. And he reached out to all teams that he possibly could to try and get a seat in any kind of championship possible, to go racing once again. Out of nowhere, this new team in this new championship called GT Championship wanted Romain to race for them in this Ford GT. So Romain was like, yeah, I'll go. And he got that call a month before the racing started. During the championship, he then got another call saying, did you want to, take over the seat for the rest of the season? And Romain was like, yeah, I'll go in that seat. So then he jumped into the seat halfway through the season and smashed the rest of the championship, getting 7 podiums and 4 wins. This impressive performance then gets him back into GP2, but more importantly, he got the seat for 2011. Romain, now feeling the pressure of this season, this would be his last chance to get into Formula 1, makes a mistake during the Asia series at the start of the year, during a practice session during the Imola race. He has a very serious crash that caused his hand to get severely injured, with a lot of blood loss and a huge amount of swelling. Remarkably, without actually knowing the track of Imola, Grosjean actually went on to win that race and win the Asia series, and then he went on to win the Europe series as well, making him first overall for the GP2, which led him to get the best call of his career, that he'll be racing alongside Kimi Räikkönen at Lotus in Formula 1.
And I've been working very, very hard during these 2 years to improve myself, improve my driving, improve my feedback for the team, and improve as well everything you can to make it again to Formula 1. And today I'm so pleased that it works.
So this is the big map of Romain Grosjean from 2012 to 2020, and I call it the success of Grosjean, where he battled and ultimately gained podiums. From Lotus to Haas, and within those 8 years is a lot of success. But that's not what this movie is about. This is about his defining moment. Back in 2012, Romain actually caused one of the worst accidents in all of Formula 1 during the Spa weekend, causing near fatalities for himself and other drivers at Spa, which gave Romain this early reputation of being involved in accidents. It kick-started nearly over 40 DNFs over his entire career, and I would argue this is where he got his experience. Linking these career highlights of Grosjean's early career and victories, losses and accidents will come clear soon enough. As it turns out, there's actually another significant factor that I haven't actually mentioned yet, that leads directly up to the events of the 29th of November 2020. High up in the Geneva Hills of Switzerland is the home of Romain Grosjean, in which he shares it with his wife, that being Marion, aka Mosquito, and the family that they built together have been there almost for his entire career. In 2008, when Romain was competing in GP2 Asia, they first met when Marion was a journalist for a company named Automoto and hit it off on a plane to Paris. Just after the season ended for the second stint in GP2, Grosjean invited Marion to a cocktail event named the Champs-Élysées. When Romain found out that he would replace Piquet in 2009, Marion was by Grosjean's side on the beach in Saint-Tropez. Whilst having a difficult Italian Grand Prix, the following weekend, Romain and Marion attended a fancy French gala. When Romain lost his seat in F1, he truly wasn't alone, as he actually moved in with Marion in Geneva. It was there in their new home that Marion actually gave the idea for Grosjean to pursue his new passion in going into cooking school in Paris. 2011 GP2 season was about to begin, with Grosjean doing extreme testing in the Dams car, but on March 15, 2011, Grosjean actually proposed at the Four Seasons in hotel in Paris. When Grosjean actually had a near-death experience in Paris, he actually got hit by a car whilst on a bicycle. Romain was bleeding and injured, but luckily Marion was there, so she drove him to the hospital. Now having his second debut in Formula 1 in 2012, Grosjean was actually having an extremely competitive race, but unfortunately he had to retire due to a fault in the car. 3 days after the race, Grosjean and Marion get married in the south of France. On the 29th of July 2013, gives birth to a baby boy named Sacha Grosjean. Marion leaves her job as a journalist and Grosjean continues to race in Formula 1 until the next newborn was well on the way, and on May 16, 2015, he was named Simon Grosjean. They celebrated Sacha's second birthday with a chocolate cake. Romain had actually joined Haas, but more importantly, Sacha is starting to learn on the ice rink, with Marion and Romain releasing a cookbook the following year. During the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2017, the team celebrates Sacha's birthday with the Grosjeans. They also welcome a baby girl, Camille. When Romain was struggling through 2018, he managed to take part in a triathlon and ended the year with skiing with the family. Just before the start of the 2019 season, Grosjean's two sons came to visit him, now in the paddock in Barcelona, which Grosjean said gave him the intense pride and pleasure. Coming up to the summer break in June, the Grosjeans were asleep at home when suddenly two burglars break into the house. Whilst Marion was on the phone for help, fearlessly, Grosjean leapt down the staircase to scare the thieves who broke into their kitchen doors. With 2020, the two boys start designing helmets, start to practice sim racing, and they go out to dinner as a family. The Grosjeans share a happy memory baking, only 9 days away from the race of Bahrain, in which Grosjean has his defining moment. It was a Sunday, in the afternoon, on the 29th of November. Currently in Switzerland, the time was around 3:08. The weather had mostly been clear with a few clouds in the sky. Marion and the three children, Sacha Grosjean, Simon Grosjean, and Camille Grosjean, weren't at the race, rather they stayed at home to watch the race. They were joined by Romain's father, Christian Grosjean, the man who got Romain invested in racing, and Christian's wife, Valerie. They sat down as a family to watch the race unfold, unaware of the events that were about to occur in a few short moments. In the family kitchen laid a familiar sight in the Grosjean household. Nestled under the kitchen counter laid a chocolate cake. It was not fancy nor for any special occasion. It just so happened to be there on a Sunday for no particular reason whatsoever. It was encased in a petite 10.1-inch glass serving dome. At this point in time, Romain Grosjean was with his Haas team in Bahrain. He sat in his car named the VF20. That weekend he actually qualified P19. In front of Romain Grosjean sat his teammate Kevin Magnussen, and behind was the Canadian driver Nicolas Latifi. On the grid he anxiously waited for the lights to turn green. With 98.1 million people watching around the world, nobody could possibly predict about the events that were about to transpire in this 57-lap race. The cars launched themselves down the main straight, swooping around the first turn. The front of the pack gets a good getaway, and in the home cinema the three children roar with excitement. And Grosjean puts the power down, and a sudden collision occurs. A slight brush of the wheel with driver Daniel Kvyat that changed the course of Grosjean's VF20. And just in under 1 second, the VF20 hurtled towards the barrier at a rate of 119 miles per hour. As the VF20 is approaching the barrier at a rate of 119 miles per hour, we actually need to talk about the relationship between Romain Grosjean and his fellow Frenchman driver, Jules Bianchi. From an early age it was clear he had great driving ability and raced under the Scuderia program. Jules actually crossed paths with Grosjean in 2011 as they raced alongside each other in GP2, with Jules coming third in that championship. And Jules managed to race alongside Grosjean in Formula 1. But unlike Grosjean, he had a serious accident on track, and he died 9 months later in a coma.
There's a lot of memory, but as you said, I think the big one is the smile of Jules. Always being happy, always having something funny to tell you. He was a great man. More than he was a fantastic driver, but he was a big man.
Grosjean actually lost a friend and dedicated this helmet. In the response to the death of Jules, the FIA actually approved of a new safety measure, famously called the Halo, something that actually Grosjean was strongly against when it was introduced. This halo being on Grosjean's VF20 on the 29th of November 2020. A space rocket's acceleration has the force of 3g. Fighter pilots actually experience forces of up to 10g. Grosjean not only experienced a sudden crash, but a crazy 69g in under 1 second. At this very moment, the VF20 now has made contact by pressing against the reinforced Armco crash barrier. The impact pierced the metal railing at an angle of 29 degrees. These barriers are designed to withstand a force by sending shockwaves along the barrier. But the angle, force, speed, the barrier shattered. The crash causes the VF20 to split into 2 parts. The back of the car on the track side, with the front end of the car just on the other side of the barrier. The halo that was built from the death of Jules ensured that Grosjean wasn't decapitated, and at this point had survived the impact of the metal railing. The fuel tank instantly gets snagged by the rail and erupts into flames, causing a massive fireball with Grosjean engulfed inside. Now, at approximately 3 seconds after the crash, every single driver voices their concern.
What happened? What is red flag?
What's happened?
Is everyone okay?
Is everything okay? Or everyone okay?
I see a fire. Is everyone alright?
Is everyone okay? Is there a car on fire?
What's the fire? And he's okay or?
Whose car is on the fire?
I've seen it in the mirrors. No, please.
Tell me he's okay, please. Tell me he's okay.
Is the driver okay?
Has he got out?
Is he out?
Is he out?
At which point, Valerie takes the 3 playful and unaware young children out of the home cinema and into the kitchen, after the confirmation it was indeed their father who could have just died right in front of them, leaving Romain's father and Marion to watch in silence. Inside the cockpit of the VF20, now around 10 seconds after impact, flames had fully swamped the car, with the driver Romain Grosjean buried within it. As the dread of understanding his fate became a reality, thoughts of feeling of death came to mind.
Thinking, I'm dead, I will die, and then I thought, which part's gonna burn first? Is it the foot? Is it the hands? Is it gonna be painful? Very, very strange feeling, you know. I think, you know, sometimes we are close to death, we're a bit scared. This time death for me was here.
As the children had their hands on slices of cake, their father's hands started to feel the extreme heat of the flames. 20 seconds had now passed, with Romain Grosjean still fighting his way out of the cockpit of the burning VF20. After the realisation that death is approaching, he gives death a name to ease his pain, naming it Benoit.
And I named it Benoit. I just had to put a name on it and I call it Benoit.
And he has felt this same pain before in his hands.
But then my foot is stuck on the pedal.
He's withstood many whiplash hits before.
Pull as hard as I can on my left leg.
He's endured multiple front end crashes.
And I went through and the shoulder went through, and at the time I knew the shoulder had passed the halo part.
Those failures and accidents that Grosjean had to endure had led up to this very moment.
I was going to leave.
The experience of Romain's career is what truly saves him. It was the years of dedication to motorsport and accidents and failures that got him out of that cockpit. The final push he needed was to think of his children.
What about my kids? And I said, no, I cannot die today. For my kids, I cannot die. I've got to see them.
Survived with non-fatal burns to both his hands, left ankle and left knee. Marion, now seeing Romain back in the safety of the car, no longer had to think what to say to the children who had just finished their chocolate cake. Romain, now in safety, immediately calls Marion. "Mosquito, I am well," he said with exhaustion. My God, those words. I shall hear them for the rest of my life. That voice that I was no longer sure of hearing again. Marion now felt relieved from hearing the voice of her husband. The hours put into designing a fireproof race suit, the gloves, the helmet, the front end of the car, the crash barriers, all have to withstand heat, impact and crash damage. Over 100 years of engineering, of safety requirements and regulations, the number of accidents on track, the number of deaths on track, the sport learning from its mistakes and then improving upon it. All this happened so that Grosjean was able to survive that crash. Not only was the sport's history of safety in play, but the amalgamation of factors that got him back to his family through his career. When Romain actually departed from Formula 1, surprisingly, he wanted to pursue racing once again. Even after one of the worst accidents in all of Formula 1, he looked to continue his passion in Florida and actually joined IndyCar. He's had major victories, losses and crashes during his IndyCar career, and that is what Grosjean has and will continue to do, is fight as a competitive racer on and off the track. Have teams not having faith of you as their driver. Even with the struggle that Romain has had in IndyCar, that really ultimately gave him the opportunity to drive at Lamborghini at Le Mans. It's a different kind of sport dedication that not many people can say that they've done. And that crash is symbolic in summary of Grosjean's commitment to how he is as a race car driver. Losing, crashing, fighting, winning is the pure mould that makes Romain Grosjean. Before Formula 1 he lost and he crashed, but then he battled his way back into Formula 1 in 2012. During Formula 1 he lost podiums and positions, then surviving some of the most severe crashes in Formula 1 history. He kept fighting for his place in Formula 1 and in 8 years achieving podiums, proving that he is a winner. In 2020 he lost his seat, he crashed his car and won the ability to carry on being a father, husband and racer. At the heart of Romain Grosjean is that crash of the 29th of November 2020. It's that moment that his whole life orbits around. Losing, crashing, fighting, winning in his defining moment.